Greetings Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
We're back. Welcome to the Maverick News Channel, everyone. Hello, Maverick family. Pipeline memorandum of understanding. Does it actually pave the way to getting Alberta oil to market? Opinions vary, and it's generating excitement, pushback, and even the resignation of Stephen Guilbeault. We'll get into that along with today's other top news stories, including an update on the condition of those guardsmen shot yesterday in Washington, D.C. Stay with me. We'll dig into it all on the other side of this.
Greetings brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so let's dig into this, shall we? So we have this new agreement between the federal government and Alberta, which is designed to lay the groundwork for a new pipeline all the way to the BC coast. Prime Minister Carney, Alberta Premier Danielle signed a memorandum of understanding, an MOU today, which aims to diversify export markets, according to Carney, and make Canada an energy superpower and build a stronger, more sustainable, more competitive economy. This is what it looked like as they sat down to sign the documents. Danielle saying, look down, sign, and then look up.
All right, so the way we've done these before, Doug is sign and then look up.
Okay, you want to sign and look up? They won't be able to tell if it's just a photo, but it's Lost start.
Excellent.
Do the Trump.
Is that how he does it?
Yeah, just I think you got a little thumbs up.
He reads his signatures too.
Yeah.
Do you want to stand and do
Yeah.
it? Do you want to swap?
They did the Trump. It is kind of funny. Oh my. Not everybody's happy about it. Out in British Columbia. I don't know if is unhappy the right word, dissatisfied, concerned, skeptical. Maybe that's the word. Premier David Eby, British Columbia, tonight saying even though they've signed this memorandum of understanding, getting a pipeline built still faces major obstacles.
And Keith, do you have a follow-up?
Yes. So, as you say, there's no proponent, there's no plan, there's no route, really nothing there. Today, the Prime Minister said if there's no proponent, there's no pipeline, period, full stop. Do you interpret that to mean that there's not going to be any federal subsidy, as we saw with the TMX pipeline, and therefore the odds of this pipeline being built are rather remote?
I think this proposal has some major challenges. First of all, we already have a publicly owned pipeline. It is not a capacity. It is for sale. Nobody wants to buy it. For this new pipeline proposal, it similarly has no company that has stepped up and said, even under the most optimistic conditions, that they would be interested in building it, that if it were already built, that they would be interested in buying it, which leaves only one possible way that it could get built, which is through a massive taxpayer-funded support in the order of $30 to $40 billion of taxpayer dollars to get it built. Now, in that scenario, I think British Columbia has some projects that could compete with this one that would create just as much opportunity and be significantly cheaper to taxpayers. But we're not even asking for taxpayer dollars. I don't think one taxpayer dollar should go into this project, and I'm glad to see in the agreement that that is a condition. And I think that that is probably fatal to Premier Smith's proposal. I understand the Prime Minister was speaking to the Calgary Board of Trade and jokingly asked if anyone wanted to be a proponent of the project. Joking aside, there is no proponent. There is unlikely to be a proponent. And so even if there were a proponent, one of the key hurdles of coastal First Nations support has not been achieved. And it has been their position since 1977 that the oil tanker ban needs to be in place, because if there were an oil spill, their way of life would end, as would $1.7 billion in economic activity on the coast.
Thanks, Premier. Next, we'll head to Katie DeRosa, CBC.
Premier, have you talked to the...
Okay, now the Prime Minister spoke today to the Calgary Chamber of Commerce, while you're in the neighborhood, right? Trying to make a deal on a new pipeline that will help tie the country together, maybe even save Canada, maybe convince some of those Albertans who are disgruntled that maybe the deal isn't so bad staying within the Canadian fold after all. Let's pick up this from the Calgary Chamber of Commerce speech today, where the Prime Minister lays out his argument for this major infrastructure project.
Our hands. We're catalyzing generational investments by creating the right conditions to get big things built here in Alberta and right across Canada. In June, Parliament passed the One Canadian Economy Act. What it does is it removes all federal barriers to internal trade, and it fast-tracks. It gives us the authority to fast-track the approval of nation-building projects. To get that done, in August, we opened the Major Projects Office, headquartered right here in Calgary. The MPO, the Major Projects Office, is a single point of contact to get nation-building projects built faster. We have the good fortune to have Calgarian Don Farrell as the CEO. Yeah. Dawn needs no introduction in this room, but if those watching, she has more than 35 years of experience, including as CEO and chair of Trans Mountain and CEO of TransAlta. She knows the energy sector, and above all, she knows how to build big. Thus far, in the last few months, we've referred two tranches of major projects to that major project office. Those projects represent about $115 billion of investments in LNG, in nuclear, in hydro, in critical minerals, as well as in new trade and energy corridors. And these projects are part of bigger strategies that go from unlocking our full potential as an energy superpower, to building high-speed rail and pioneering sovereign data and intelligence infrastructure. All strategies designed to build a better connected, a stronger, and a more sustainable Canadian economy. And that's why I'm here in Calgary today. And as you know, this morning, Premier Smith and I signed a new Memorandum of Understanding. And it's a framework for building a more competitive, more independent, more sustainable economies in Alberta and across Canada. Together, we will strengthen federal-provincial collaboration in the energy sector to unlock the full potential of Alberta's energy resources, to achieve net zero emissions by 2050, and in the process, create not just hundreds of thousands of jobs, but hundreds of thousands of well-paying careers. Here's how. The Canadian government will enable a clear and efficient approval process for a new private sector constructed and financed pipeline, priority to Asia, and a pipeline with Indigenous peoples' co-ownership and benefits. And by working with the new cooperation agreement, which is part of the MOU, we will maximize the benefits of one project, one review for the Alberta portions of any projects. The pipeline will transport at least 1 million barrels of low-emission Alberta bitumen a day, with a route that increases access to new Asian markets as a priority. This enhanced capacity would be on top of a further expansion of Trans Mountain by an additional 300,000 to 400,000 Alberta barrels per day. These projects can diversify our exports, reduce the discount on the current sales to U.S. markets, increase our independence, increase Canada's prosperity. To make them possible, our MOU also advances the construction of Pathways Plus, because we recognize that in order to be competitive over the longer term, energy doesn't only have to be low risk and low cost, but also low carbon. Pathways Plus will be the largest carbon capture, utilization, and storage project in the world, achieving emissions reductions that are the equivalent of taking 90% of all the trucks and cars off the road in Alberta. It will make Alberta oil amongst the world's lowest carbon intensity in the world. And it has the potential to create an entirely new industry in Canada, just as Alberta did with the oil sands when I was a kid. The MOU is committed to building in partnership through cooperative federalism. Cooperation, obviously, between the federal and Alberta governments. Cooperation by ensuring that Indigenous economic benefits, partnerships, and opportunities for co-ownership are fundamental to every project. Cooperation by recognizing that British Columbians should share substantial economic and financial benefits from projects that impact them. Now, it's important to recognize that the agreement between Alberta and Canada is about much more than pipelines. It helps set the stage for the next phase of an industrial transformation underway in this province. Under this agreement, we will collaborate on multiple projects to meet growing consumer and industrial energy demand, including through new nuclear power and new interties with neighboring provinces that increase affordability and resilience of the system while lowering emissions. We'll also work to unlock sovereign AI data centers that create opportunities for Alberta's and Canada's burgeoning AI ecosystem. Avik just referenced the challenge worldwide. We'll do it in a way that protects our independence of our information and our algorithms. Nous allons réaliser de grandes choses et le faire de façon durable. Notre nouvelle stratégie de compétitivité climatique est notre plan pour stimuler la croissance tout en.
Now, as I said, not everybody is happy. In response to this, Stephen Guilbeault has resigned from cabinet because of the energy deal. Here, let's show you. And this, to me, reinforces some of what I have been saying, although some people don't want to hear it. And I understand, but labels are only labels, and these days, some of these things just don't even apply the way they used to. Liberal, conservative, fascist, communist. Guilbeault resigns from cabinet over Carney's energy deal with Alberta. He's resigned from the Prime Minister's cabinet, citing a strong opposition to the federal Liberal government's major new energy agreement with Alberta, accusing Mark Carney of dismantling of climate plans. So this happened just after they signed the Memorandum of Understanding, and Guilbeault posted this on social media. Of course, he's the environmental guy, right? And he is the guy who scaled the CN Tower in Toronto to unfurl a banner as part of an environmental activism stunt. Got himself arrested, got himself an orange jumpsuit as a result for a while, then ended up in the Trudeau government. This afternoon, I informed the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, of my decision to resign as Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture, Minister responsible for official languages, Minister of Nature and Parks Canada, as well as Lieutenant in Quebec. Here's his full statement. He says this afternoon, it is with great sadness that I submitted my resignation to the Prime Minister as Minister of Canadian Identity. I already listed all that. As you know, I chose to enter politics to champion the fight against climate change and the protection of the environment. Over the past 10 years, our country has made historic progress in reducing climate pollution, protecting nature and the environment while our economy continued to grow. I believe I have contributed to these advancements, and I remain deeply proud of the achievements I have helped bring forward. Standing up to tech giants and major polluters, implementing Canada's first emissions reduction plan, slowing their growth and placing them on a downward trajectory, establishing the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, modernizing the Canadian Environmental Protection Act, developing the country's first national climate adaptation strategy to protect our communities, eliminating harmful single-use plastics. No more straws. I can't stand those paper straws. Implementing the most ambitious nature conservation plan in the country's history, continuing the modernization of the Official Languages Act, making historic investments in arts and culture, including during the COVID-19 crisis and the most recent budget. Changes in our relationship with the United States have led to profound disruptions affecting the global order, diplomatic relations, and the economy. I understand and share the Prime Minister's efforts to ensure the country remains united and that all regions feel they have a voice, despite this difficult economic context. I remain one of those for whom environmental issues must remain front and center, even if it means breaking up the country. That is why I strongly oppose the Memorandum of Understanding between the federal government and the government of Alberta. It goes on and on. You get the idea. Furthermore, a pipeline to the West Coast would have major environmental impacts, particularly as it could cross the Great Bear Rainforest, contribute to a significant increase in climate pollution and move Canada further away from its greenhouse gas reduction targets. And you've got him talking about lifting the tanker ban on the West Coast, which he says would also significantly increase the risk of accidents in the region. The moratorium was established in 1972 following a unanimous vote in the House of Commons, notably because navigation in the Hecate Strait is highly dangerous. We know all the issues. As shown in the analysis submitted to the House of Commons, without this regulation, the electricity sector, which has halved its pollution over the last 20 years, would return to an upward emissions trajectory. The regulation, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so he's gonzo, out of cabinet, taking on the environmental portfolio with Trudeau, then pushed over to these other positions, identity and culture, minister responsible for official languages, minister of nature and parks Canada. Those portfolios in the Carney era. Thing is, this ain't the Trudeau Liberals. This is Carney. And he is far more pragmatic and far closer to the center than Trudeau was. And he has finessed things so that he is not beholden just to the NDP in order to remain in power. He's a deal maker. Oh, yeah, there you go. That's kind of a Trumpian term, isn't it? He's a deal maker. Carney is. And even though people keep pointing to his book values, you can see that this is not Trudeau, in my opinion. And I'm allowed to have a damn opinion. Just because you don't agree with me doesn't give you the right to try and shut me down. So suck it up. My opinion is that this is not Trudeau 2.0. This is Mark Carney. And he is a far more conservative person. Ideologically, fiscally, more free market. Fiscally, more in tune and educated and sophisticated. And he understands. He's also 10 times, well, maybe 1,000 times more intelligent than Trudeau, because he knows how everything works, and he's getting it done. That's the bottom line. That's why Harper wanted him to be his finance minister. But at the time, he was governor of the bank, and he said that it would be inappropriate to make that direct move, and he didn't do it. Now he's in this position. And I don't know if it will get done, but this is the path forward. And I don't think EB can stand in the way. This is something that Carney clearly sees that is important. He's making deals out there, appeasing Danielle Smith. It's something that will help bind the nation together. Now, what would Poilievre do? Well, maybe you think he'd do a better job. Maybe he would. It was certainly front and center again today. Question period, House of Commons. And Pierre Poilievre took the opportunity to weigh in, and I lost my tab. Or did I? No, here I am. Okay. All right, let's get the House of Commons up here. There we go. All right, Pierre, take it. Question period.
Changing rapidly. The United States, the world's largest economy, is fundamentally reshaping all of its trade relationships, causing major disruption and upheaval for Canadians. Right. It's time to transform our economy from one that is reliant on a single trading partner to one that is stronger, more self-sufficient, and resilient to global shocks. To these ends, Canada and Alberta share the same ambitions: diversify our export markets, make Canada an energy superpower, and build a stronger, cleaner, more independent, more competitive economy.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
All right, he can't tell us the year in which construction will begin. Can he tell us In what decade will construction begin on a new pipeline to the Pacific?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, today is a really important day because we are taking important steps forward on cooperative federalism. The Prime Minister has been clear, and we've always known, we cannot reach our climate objectives if we are not working with all of the provinces and territories. Today, Alberta has committed to work with us on clean electricity regulations. They have committed in this agreement to work towards a stronger industrial carbon price. They have committed to work with us on methane regulations. Those are important steps forward for Canada to move towards its climate objectives, and we will keep doing that work.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
So they don't know the year that construction will begin. They don't know the decade that construction will begin. And the Environment Minister couldn't even bring herself to utter the word pipeline in her answer to the question. And what today's deal allows a proposal for a pipeline to go to an office in 7 months, which will then be studied for 2 years, after which the Prime Minister will give a pipeline veto to the BC NDP Premier, who's already said he's against. Isn't this pipeline going to be built in the year never?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Actually, Mr. Speaker, this is a big, large, great, grand day for Canada. Our government has reached an important MOU with Danielle Smith, the Premier, and the province of Alberta that creates an energy transition in all aspects of energy. It sets the stage for an industrial transformation. It will make Canada stronger, more independent, more resilient, and more sustainable, and it will include the largest carbon capture project in the world. It will mean all of Alberta's energy resources are among the lowest energy intensive in the world.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Don't tell us when a pipeline will be under construction. Let's just unpack the Prime Minister's allusion here. He's telling the Keep It in the Ground caucus of the Liberal Party that they just need to be quiet because there won't be a pipeline anyway. What he will do is delay it for several years until after a prospective election, during which he can dangle a possible pipeline in front of the people, but after which he can hand veto power that is not in the Constitution over to the BC NDP Premier, who will block the thing from ever happening. Isn't it true that this isn't a pipeline? It's a pipe dream.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the country, indeed the world, is calling out for serious leadership, for cooperative leadership, for leadership that brings people together and parties together. I don't think this leader has any conception of what is required to do the kind of development that he is proposing. Of course we will consult and deal with the Premier, the duly elected Premier of British Columbia. Of course we will and have a duty to consult with First Nations. Of course we will do this in a cooperative way. We'll do it in the Canadian way, and we'll do it in the right way, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, they will stand in the way, is what they will do. We know that the only thing stopping a pipeline from Alberta to the Pacific is the Prime Minister. Let's unpack the legality of it. The Constitution, Section 9210A, gives the federal government exclusive approval power for a pipeline. Bill C-5, a bill the Prime Minister pushed through the House of Commons, and we even supported him, gives him the power to approve it. So we only need him to do one thing for this pipeline to happen. Get out of the way. Will he do it?
Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, when Canadians elected our government, they were clear. They wanted to see us build a strong Canada, and they wanted to see us build it well and build it together. They wanted to see that we could work together as a country, and that means that we do things like this agreement with Alberta that helps us move forward on industrial carbon pricing, moves forward on methane regulations, moves forward on clean electricity, but also respects other jurisdictions like the province of British Columbia, with which we must seek agreement.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, she accidentally told the truth, Mr. Speaker. She didn't say that it moves forward on a pipeline. She said it moves forward on an industrial carbon tax. A carbon tax that will increase the cost of everything it takes to build a home. So it's a tax on homes. On everything it takes to grow food. So it's a tax on food. It's a tax that drives production out, paychecks down, and the cost of living up. Meanwhile, it does not move forward with a pipeline. We as Conservatives believe in clearing the way to get pipelines built. In other words, we would build a pipeline without a carbon tax. They would build a carbon tax without a pipeline.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Again, Mr. Speaker, I suspect Canadians are straining to find the Leader of the Opposition credible on any of this. What this Memorandum of Understanding does is create a carbon capture and storage system that will lead the world. It will include, of course, bringing together of partners with whom we have a duty to consult and with other jurisdictions. It will create jobs in the electrical system. It will create construction jobs. It will create opportunity across Western Canada, Mr. Speaker, but most importantly will make Canada an energy superpower. Why can't the Leader of the Opposition see that?
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, on November 27th,
we will finish up with that. And we'll go over here to Danielle Smith, who spent a little time over there on Canuckistan Broadcasting Corporation. Poilievre's pretty good, I have to say. And during question period, he's very good at holding the government's feet to the fire.
And so I know things that are intra-provincial projects are the responsibility of the province, but ports are federal jurisdiction, cross-border pipelines and transmission lines are federal jurisdiction, and trade and commerce is federal jurisdiction. You cannot have a province blocking access of another landlocked province to get their products to market. That's been determined by the courts. And so we're very pleased to already start the consultation and with the nations, including coastal First Nations. I had a very pleasant conversation with the Haisla chief yesterday, and they made it very clear that they're open to all kinds of work with Alberta on all kinds of products, maybe not as enthusiastic about bitumen, but they're also excited about expanding LNG and also expanding additional export opportunities. So I would say I have not experienced what Premier Eby has described. I haven't heard a single nation that we've engaged with in British Columbia say that they're going to trade off one against the other. They're letting us know what their perspectives are. We're pleased for that. And we're going to keep on working with them to see if we can put together a consortium that will also be able to own a portion of this new line.
I have seen, some of those First Nations put out specific statements, but with respect to what you said about the federal jurisdiction here, I do take your point on their constitutional ability with interprovincial projects, but I also remember many times when you have not believed in the Constitution as it applies that way, when you have fought against, for example, decisions to impose carbon pricing, even though the Supreme Court dictated that that was in federal jurisdiction. Again, I'll put to you, is the project not more at risk because BC and those coastal First Nations were not brought into the fold earlier?
I don't think so. I mean, I've not heard any nation say they're going to cancel their support for LNG Canada 2.0 because of any conversations Alberta's having. I just don't think that's true. But what I will say is that we respect the Constitution and also the Supreme Court. They did make a decision that the federal government does have the right to set floor prices on CO2, which is why that forms a basis for our agreement. We have a tier agreement. It's our approach to how we do carbon pricing, which we've been doing incidentally since 2007. So other jurisdictions have followed us, sometimes by decades, and we have to work collaboratively with the federal government. That's why that is part and parcel in the agreement that will come to a stringency agreement and figure out what the top rate would be. We want to have a balance of making sure that it's going to support the investment in carbon capture technology, but also not be punitive to our industry so that we have the ability to invest in those things. So I think that's what it's about when you have an agreement. There are certain commitments and undertakings we have to do, and there's certain commitments and undertakings that the federal government has to do. But I was very pleased to see that they've made great movement on the lion's share of the 9 bad laws that we put on the table.
I will say, like, you're saying carbon price floor is okay from the federal government. You weren't saying that for a lot of years. That is a very different position that you're taking now because it appears to benefit other projects. Will you keep the increase, the 6-fold increase the Prime Minister just described when it comes to the industrial carbon price, even if another bitumen pipeline doesn't go ahead?
Well, I think, again, that's not true, Vashi. We had a tier agreement before I came in that agreed that we would increase the price on CO2 for industrial emitters up to $170 per ton by 2030. We paused it this year because with the changes that we've seen in the world, the disruption in energy markets, we knew that price going that high that quickly was going to be harmful to our industry. And now we're in a negotiation with the Prime Minister about what that is going to look like. So I hope we can come to an agreement where we've identified April 1st as a time for when we're going to announce what that agreement would look like. There's going to be some more negotiations that have to take place, but that's part of what happens when Canada and Alberta work together. I think we both benefit. Not everybody gets 100% of what they want, but I can tell you that we certainly moved the dial on many of the things that we did want to start getting investment from the private sector back into our province again.
Okay. That is enough of that. We will see. It's not a done deal. It's the beginning of a deal. It's a framework for a deal. It's kind of a Trump-style deal. It's a deal that isn't quite a deal, but it seems to be a big deal nonetheless. So the debate rages and the news continues when we come back.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family. Maverick News. The world is watching.
We're back with more news. Okay, let's update this story on the guardsmen who were shot yesterday in Washington. 2 of them. They were shot in a targeted ambush shooting just blocks from the White House. They've now been identified as Sarah Beckstrom and Andrew Wolf. They are both from the West Virginia National Guard. This coming from Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. Beckstrom and Wolf were serving on the D.C. Safe and Beautiful mission, is what it was called, That happened around 2:15 p.m. That coming in a news release from the West Virginia National Guard. See if I can get that up. Here we go. I've got it. And bring it up on the screen for you to see what the latest is from the National Guard directly. There's what they're putting out tonight. West Virginia National Guard, under the command of West Virginia Adjutant General Major General Jim Seward, announces the names of the 2 guardsmen shot at approximately 2:15, November 26th. U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, assigned to the Force Support Squadron, 167th Airlift Wing, West Virginia Air National Guard, and U.S. Army Special Sarah Beckstrom, assigned to the 863rd Military Police Company, 111th Engineer Brigade, West Virginia Army National Guard, were wounded in a shooting near the Farragut Square Metro Station in Washington, D.C. The guardsmen are currently hospitalized. The suspect is in custody. Wolf, 24 years old, Martinsburg, West Virginia, entered service in 2019, has been on orders in the district since the beginning of the mission, which began in August. Sarah Beckstrom, 20, of Webster Springs, West Virginia, entered service June 26th, has been on task force orders in the district since the beginning of the mission as well in August. It's my understanding that she volunteered to work over the Thanksgiving period so that others could be with their families. And now in the hospital, recovering or trying to recover, fighting for her life, both of them. And it is sending shockwaves across the country. It is dividing people even more. I've seen some posts online suggesting that the suspect, who was taken into custody, was something of a CIA operative, which is just fueling more division as a result, and speculation, conspiracies even. Here's Kash Patel, who has confirmed that the Afghan shooter had military ties, possible network under investigation, and authorities are now reviewing the suspect's full background, investigating any known associates, both abroad and inside the United States. Let's pick this up. Here's Kash Patel. Got to get him up on the screen. Almost there. Here we go.
I also spoke to Director of the CIA, John Ratcliffe, last night, and Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. There is confirmation now that the subject had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces. We are fully investigating that aspect of his background as well, to include any known associates that are either overseas or here in the United States of America. I also spoke to Director of the CIA, John Ratcliffe, last night, and Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth.
Okay, let's go over and check the Truth Social account for the president, shall we? It's the perfect time to do that tonight. Let's do the Truth Social scroll. Check in on Donald Trump. Did you see, I should maybe run his address from last night because I posted it. I think we got it up on Twitter last night, but we didn't actually get a chance to run it on the program. All right. Well, yeah, it's you know, because it's not that long. So I'll run it just in case you guys missed it. And if you did see it, worth watching again because of the words chosen. Also, I don't know if you picked the language used by Danielle Smith in her interview on the corporate broadcasting station. You know, the words revealing when it comes to the whole Alberta independence question and the way that she views it, the way that many out there are framing it. I won't get into it here tonight, but there is the words are chosen very deliberately. There's language in there that is important, and you will continue to hear her use the phrasing that she uses to reinforce Alberta's entrenched position on trying to gain, I guess, more influence within Confederation. Here's the president's address from last night. Come on, are you going to roll? Come on, Mr. President. Sometimes Truth Social sticks like that when we go to run a clip. Hang on, let me re-cue it. Sometimes I have to reboot in order to get it to roll. Frustrating. Here we go. Oh, come on. Are you not going to work? I'll tell you what. Well, I get the president unstuck. I'll get the digital tow truck out and pull him out of the ditch, and I'll come right.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, I hooked on, dragged him out of the digital ditch. Here he is, all the way over on stage and ready to tell you what he has to say.
My great fellow Americans, earlier today, on the eve of the Thanksgiving holiday, 2 members of the National Guard serving in Washington, D.C., were shot at point-blank range in a monstrous ambush-style attack just steps away from the White House. They had been deputized as part of the most successful public safety and national security mission in the history of our nation's capital, the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, which has achieved an unprecedented reduction in violent crime and crimes of all type. This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. The hearts of all Americans tonight are with those 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families. The love of our entire country is pouring out for them, and we are lifting them up in our prayers. As we are filled with anguish and grief for those who were shot, we're also filled with righteous anger and ferocious resolve. As President of the United States, I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price. I can report tonight that based on the best available information, the Department of Homeland Security is confident that the suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021 on those infamous flights that everybody was talking about. Nobody knew who was coming in. Nobody knew anything about it. His status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden, a disastrous president, the worst in the history of our country. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about. No country can tolerate such a risk to our very survival. An example is Minnesota, where hundreds of thousands of Somalians are ripping off our country and ripping apart that once great state. Billions of dollars are lost, and gangs of Somalians come from a country that doesn't even have a government, no laws, no water, no military, no nothing. As their representatives in our country preach to us about our Constitution and how our country is no good. We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them. America will never bend and never yield in the face of terror. And at the same time, we will not be deterred from the mission these service members were so nobly fulfilling. That is why tonight I can announce that I have directed the Department of War to mobilize an additional 500 troops to help protect our capital city. We will make America totally safe again, and we will bring the perpetrator of this barbaric attack to swift and certain justice if the bullets going in the opposite direction haven't already done that. During this time of the year, when we gather at home with loved ones, these two patriots were wearing the uniform of our country, patrolling the streets of our capital. They had taken a selfless oath to defend our nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that is exactly what they were doing when they were gunned down in a savage attack. I want to express my extraordinary gratitude to every member of the United States military who is deployed tonight, at home and abroad. I also want to thank the Secret Service and the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department for their work today. This Thanksgiving, I ask every family to say a prayer for the two great heroes who were so horribly shot, and for their loved ones. Please say a prayer. May God bless them and comfort them, and may God bless and protect the United States of America. Thank you and good night.
So that was last night, but I can tell you that one of the guardsmen, one of the two, Sarah Beckstrom, has passed away from her injuries, that coming directly from Donald Trump. And the second guard member, Andrew Wolf, is still fighting for his life. We'll come back with more on that in just a moment.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
Okay, let's pick up the president here. I do have this. 1 second. He has addressed the death of Beckstrom.
Yesterday, we literally had no incidents for many months. It was the safest place imaginable, and this is a different kind of crime. This is a really bad crime. Millions of Americans are praying for those heroes and their families, and I must unfortunately tell you that just seconds before I went on, right now, I heard that Sarah Beckstrom of West Virginia, one of the guardsmen that we're talking about, highly respected, young, magnificent person, started service in June of 2023, outstanding in every way. She's just passed away. She's no longer with us. She's looking down at us right now. Her parents are with her. It's just happened. She was savagely attacked. She's dead. She's not with us. Incredible person. Outstanding in every single way, in every department. That's horrible. As you know, the other young man is fighting for his life. He's in very bad shape. He's fighting for his life, and hopefully we'll get better news with respect to him. And the monster that did this is also in serious condition. But we won't even talk about him. As you may know, DHS has confirmed that the
We'll be right back.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, so it's Thanksgiving in the United States. We already had our Turkey Day up here. Now, last year we started a tradition here on Maverick News, the Golden Turkey Award. So I was going to run a poll on social media, but I thought, no, tonight I'm going to throw it open to the chat, and you guys can vote. It's not a private or a secret ballot. It's out in the open. It's in the chat. So nominate your golden turkey for this year if you want in the chat. We'll take it all into consideration, and then we'll have our winner at the end of the program. The Golden Turkey Award can be any public figure you want. Now, with it being Turkey Day, although Christmas is kind of a turkey day as well, I thought it would be appropriate to just mention, especially in light of all the bird flu talk we've had of late, that there has been some pressure on turkey prices because of bird flu outbreaks, not just in Canada, not just in the United States, but really all around the world. So I've taken note of this. Here's BBC, just to show you that this is truly an international issue. Now, the debate rages over whether culling or stamping out policies in various countries remains the best approach. We can have that debate, but the reality is tonight on Thanksgiving, Christmas Day, where we're seeing turkeys culled by the tens of thousands, maybe the hundreds of thousands, maybe the millions around the world as people chow down on their turkey dinner tonight across the US of A. Here's BBC reporting a poultry farmer fears there would be no way back for her business if her birds contracted avian flu. But we've seen bird flu outbreaks across the UK. A mandatory housing order, meaning poultry must be kept inside, came into effect in Wales on the 13th of November. It applies to owners of more than 50 birds. Smaller flocks must also be kept inside if eggs and meat are sold or given away. So they have, I guess, the turkeys on lockdown. Wales Chief Vet Richard Irvin says the government was working with industry bodies to tackle the severe situation. And they go on and talk about this. So those affected include commercial poultry units with 31,000 turkeys and another with 28,800 chickens in Pembrokeshire. A site with 26,000 chickens, another site with 32,000. So they've got a bird flu problem over there. Not the only place. Here in Canada, let me see if I can find this for you. Here we go. Turkeys affected by a second bird flu outbreak near my old hometown of London, Ontario. 15,000 turkeys affected. Here, look at the headline. You don't need to go to the CFIA website. It's right there. It's Canadian Food Inspection Agency has declared a second avian influenza outbreak at a farm in Strathroy, Caradoc. Not too far from where I sit. Latest bird flu outbreak declared November 22nd affects 15,625 turkeys and is on a commercial farm, the agency said in an email. The continued detections of this bird flu virus in both wild and domestic birds in Canada is a strong reminder for anyone raising birds to remain vigilant and ensure they have effective biosecurity measures in place. So they didn't provide the exact locations of these affected farms in this area. They often don't do that because often the farmers don't want public attention focused on their facilities because it's embarrassing, but they, then work to clean things up and then get things back into operation. So all of that has been raising concerns about turkey prices. However, I know that yesterday, when President Trump pardoned the gobblers, the two, what did they name those two turkeys that he pardoned yesterday in the White House? I can't remember. Let's bring it up. Trump pardons turkeys. Right here. Wobble and gobble. They wobble and gobble. Did anybody see that yesterday? We didn't run it here. We were preoccupied with other stories. With the Ukraine peace talks. President Trump pardons waddle and gobble. Not wobble, it's waddle. Get it right, Rick. This is hard-hitting journalism. Serious stuff. The Thanksgiving turkeys during a ceremony in the White House. Rose Garden. They pardoned this year's Thanksgiving turkeys waddle and gobble. So they're not going to get at. Spared they are. Probably going to run a commercial here. Hang on.
The genesis of the company was really trying to solve.
Let's get past this so you can get to the meat of the matter. Is poultry classified as meat? Works for me.
Are you ready? Gobble, you are hereby unconditionally pardoned.
Gobble and waddle. Pardoned by President Trump. Oh, aren't you a couple of lucky birds? Oh, they're so cute. How could you eat one? Don't do it. Yeah, they spent the night at a luxury hotel. It's like, who wants that room after? I hope they vacuum. Maybe shampoo the carpet. Waddle and gobble. But I don't know. JD Vance not really in the Thanksgiving spirit. Hang on a second here. I'm getting text messages. I think everybody's freaking out because I'm talking about the bird flu and don't talk about eating the gobblers. Well, they're not going to get at, not those ones. They're spared. And don't worry. I don't know. JD Vance, he's not going to eat. No, I can't help it. People eat turkeys. It's a Thanksgiving tradition. It's not my fault. I don't hate turkeys. You guys, stupid ostriches. Oh, did I say the word? I did. I'm so sorry to make heads blow up tonight. If you can't handle the turkey truth, I can't help you much. Now I've lost my spot. Where was I going? Where was I going with the turkey gobbler thing? Oh yeah, JD Vance. This guy, you think I'm a villain because I just told you the truth about the farm? You guys, you're aiming, you're directing your wrath at the wrong man. Listen to this guy. This guy, JD Vance, hates turkeys. He's a turkey hater. He's turkey prejudiced. He's turkey phobic. He doesn't even like to eat turkey. He says turkey sucks. I'd say JD Vance, I'd say his patriotism is even in question here tonight. This is actually a clip from yesterday. I didn't run it because we didn't have time, but it's appropriate to run it tonight on Turkey Day, an American tradition that he snubbed with his anti-turkey rhetoric.
Think about turkey. You know, turkey. Think about turkey. Who really likes, be honest with yourselves, who really likes turkey?
I like it.
You're all full of shit. Everybody who raised your hand. I know. Think about it. And here's how I know that every single one of you who raised your hand is lying to me. How many times do you roast an 18-pound turkey just randomly? Just, a nice summer afternoon, we're going to go get an 18-pound turkey. Nobody does it because turkey doesn't actually taste that good. But on Thanksgiving, on the most American holiday, I got a fan over here. On the most American holiday, we're going to cook a turkey, by God, because that's what Americans do. We cook this gigantic American bird, and we do all kinds of crazy things to make it taste good. I talked to a soldier today who she said she's going to deep fry a turkey, and I'm actually going to deep fry a turkey myself tomorrow. And look, here's the thing. If you've got to deep fry something to make it taste good, it probably isn't that good. That's a pretty good rule of thumb when it comes to food. Chicken is good all the time. Chicken is good when you deep fry it, but it's also good outside of it. But here's the thing about Thanksgiving. It is so American because at the heart of it is the spirit of gratitude. And I know that every single one of you has something tomorrow to be very thankful for and to be grateful for. And that's what I think, really separates. People ask me all the time for advice.
So that raises the question, are turkeys really an American bird, even though we here in Canuckistan eat them too? on our own version of Thanksgiving? Well, I guess, yeah, they technically are, because they are indigenous to the Americas. Yeah. And as founding father Benjamin Franklin of the US of A once put it, turkeys are a true original native of America. He praised turkeys over even the bald eagle. And then, of course, they are now celebrated and given a position of prominence in U.S. Thanksgiving traditions, whether J.D. Vance likes it or not. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you tonight as we near the end of our program. Have you noticed the change in the weather? My goodness, but she turned cold on us out there, at least in my neck of the woods here in the southern part of Ontario. It's not quite this bad where I live, not like this, but it's cold here, or colder. It's down around the freezing point now, where it was even just a couple of days ago. And this is my Americanization talking, around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It's now down around the freezing point, probably dipping well below there tonight. It'll freeze over just a touch. And if you travel just a little further east of here, you'll run into this tonight. This is up around the Kitchener-Waterloo Guelph area on Highway 401. Oh my. Welcome to Canada, Ontario. What you're seeing there is lake effect flurries, my friends. That is moisture being picked up off the Great Lakes and being carried inland full of moisture, and then the moisture crystallizes into a gabillion snowflakes, and then it gets dumped on people. I know, because I grew up there. And it's kind of pretty for a while till it turns to ice and slush, and it ain't pretty when you're driving through it on the 401 tonight. So I hope everybody stays safe out there. Yeah. And with that, I think it's about time we just kind of wrap things up here tonight, and we'll just end on this note. Just acknowledging again the passing of Sarah Beckstrom tonight. So we can all pray for Sarah, her family, the other guardsman who is still in pretty serious shape and fighting for his life, and more than that even, for the United States of America, a country deeply divided, a country on the edge. Pray for peace. See y'all back here tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
Drifting down without a sound, a gentle touch upon the ground. No two the same, yet side by side, like you and me in this great tide. Like a fingerprint from God, frozen tears from up above. Each one special, each one rare, a fleeting wonder, light as air. Here for a moment, then melting away. Gone in the sunlight, lost in the day. Taken for granted, so easy to miss. Like life itself, so fragile as this. A million fall, yet each stands true. A perfect a fingerprint from God, frozen tears from up above. Each one special, each one rare, a fleeting wonder light is air. Here for a moment, then melting away, gone in the sunlight, lost in the day, taken for granted, so easy to miss, like life itself. So fragile is this, a million falling, yet each stands true. A perfect shape, a different hue. Just like us, no two alike. Like life itself, so fragile is this. Like you, like me, we shine, we fade, yet every soul is beautifully made. A moment to love, a moment to stay, before we drift, before we stray. Cherish the snowflakes, here only for a moment, then melt away.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.